Let's say good afternoon to both the gentlemen
Good
here.
afternoon, Zoe.
Lovely day to be here, Mark, but I know, coming here for years throughout the season, it's not always this glorious weather, and you have to deal with quite a lot as a clerk of the course.
Yeah, very much so. The weather can play extremes on you. This is a lovely day for Plumpton, which is unusual, as you rightly say.
Yeah, it can be pretty tough, can't it, throughout the winter. As far as being clerk of the course is concerned, I said you're one of the longest serving, because you've been here a long time, haven't you?
Well, yes, not as clerk of the course though, but I mean I've been here 31 years in May, but the last 7 years as clerk, head groundsman and race day clerk of the course.
Okay, let's talk about the two of them then, head groundsman and then clerk of the course. So what's involved in both jobs?
It does cross over really, I mean, but it's ideal to have your hand in both pockets, shall we say, because you've got to be on top of what's happening out there with the turf, especially this week. It's been drying up, so we had to start watering on Wednesday afternoon. And as the groundsman, I'm out there all day, every day. Well, perhaps that's wrong of me to say all day, but most days I'm on the course, so I can keep an eye on it with the team I've got, which are very experienced men, and they've done an excellent job of watering. 145,000 gallons have gone through the meter to produce the ground we've got today, which I'm describing as good to firm, watered.
Okay. That's the official going. So your job itself is basically, it's not basic at all, but looking after the track, that really cultivating the grass, keeping it in good condition.
Trying to anyway. I mean, as we say, we race right through the winter months, so we can look a little bit tired at this time of year, but we put the fertiliser on last year and the watering was ideal with no rain to hopefully get that to kick in and make a difference. Perhaps not for today, but it will by the next meeting.
Let's talk about the two extremes. When it's dry like now and you have to put water on, you're talking about these thousands and thousands of gallons. How do you do that and how much would it cost?
The cost, you'd have to ask the accountant. I mean, he doesn't like me turning the taps on. He has a wry smile at me. But we have a tow line system, which means they're aluminium pipes. We can water 2 furlongs at a time, but they're split into 1 furlong each. And we operate the pipes around the course in opposite sides, moving it manually, well, pulling with a tractor, but then moving it sideways manually to get the coverage. So it's a very time-consuming job, but it is worthwhile to get it right.
How about when we're in the depths of winter and it's January and it's very cold and we've got this frost around? What happens then?
Well, to talk about the winters, of course, then we don't want the water. So we're putting it on at the moment. In the winter, we can't get it off, can we? But it's the two extremes, as we've said. Frost, of course, of latter years now, we have frost covers. We have a professional company that come in and can cover the entire surface. We have our own covers, and we can cover areas such as landings, takeoffs, footpath crossings, road crossings. And they've been very successful over the years, but they do have the limitations.
Again, that must be expensive, and also I'm guessing labour intensive, getting everyone to roll them out and roll them up again.
It's very labour intensive, yes, hence we use a private company to come in with the manpower as well. But they can put all the covers on our course in somewhere around the 6-hour mark, and it takes them 3, sometimes 4 hours to get them off. If we all buck into the job, we can get them off in 2 hours.
And we'll be speaking to David in a minute, who's chairman of the stewards. They will actually sort of check the course as well and make sure it's to standard, obviously, that's acceptable for racing. And I guess as well you get feedback from trainers and jockeys. Very much
so. Well, David is my chairman today, chairman of the stewards panel here today, and we talk, as David is chairman for this meeting, we talk often, and I keep David up to speed with what's going on, and he needs to walk with me, as we've already done, to make sure he is happy as well with the conditions and the layout of the course. Hence the clerk inside comes into play much more today, and to make sure everything's safe for the meeting to take place.
Finally, if anyone did want to be a clerk of the course, I mean, is it something where you'd have to be educated at agricultural college, or how would you get involved?
Well, I of course have a one-sided view. I think a background in being a groundsman is very good. It's very important, a good sound basis to start from. But I mean, there are fast-track systems in place now, but you still have to do some grassroots work, some experience on racecourses. But I mean, as we said earlier, I've been here a number of years, and it stood me in good test for this role I'm playing now.
And obviously everything's modernised and moving forward as time does, and just wanted to ask about this because in the sort of, well, we still use the old-fashioned going stick, as we call it, which is a stick, but now we have the turf tracks, which is a going stick. And how does this work, Mark?
Yeah, this is the technology as we've moved on. I can't really recall how many years, but several years now we've been using these. Everyone still has their walking stick, which is basically all we use, but this is a device that Turf Tracks devised, and the idea being that you put it into the ground 3 times, and I'll just do it once to show you. You push it into the ground, sorry, there's a stone there, push it into the ground to the base. That would measure for you the penetration of the ground, and then you pull it back to a 45-degree angle, remove, and that gives you the shear factor. Now you do that 3 times for 1 reading, and I need to get a minimum of 30 readings, 15 on each course, to give me an average reading for the circuit, as in a going description. It came back this morning, this was at 6 o'clock this morning I was doing this, and it came back this morning with 8.4 on the hurdle course, 8.5 on the chase course.
Which means?
For the stick, it's saying it's good ground. I'm calling it good to firm, watered ground.
Okay, but you have to take that in line with your own feeling for the track, don't you? Your own sort of readings, because that's more of an average rather than, we know that there must be inconsistencies throughout the track.
Yeah, I prefer to call them variations, but I do know what you mean. Yes, there are some there. Yes, and that's where my knowledge, if you like to call it that, comes into play with my own stick, my own feel, my own interpretation of the ground, and I feel that it would ride good to firm, as I've stated. There are areas that are a little bit easier. Top Bend, for instance, hasn't had quite the amount of water that some of the other parts of the track have had, because you can't just water and go round and round and round, give everything the same. Sometimes you have to be cautious. One area has had enough, hence the Top Bend slightly less.